Hello, Rick Keith here again. It's time for the end of the month What's in Bloom video. There's one which isn't mine, it's one that I bought a couple of weeks ago at the East Midlands August Society show from Burnham's. But all the others are mine. Some are doing okay, some aren't. I've got several Oncidium types coming into flower. None of them, and it's not just one plant, which makes me wonder what I've been doing wrong. But things like this one, for example. This is my Catitanti Pacific Sun Spots, and that spike should be way up here before it's opening. And I've got Miltonidium Barclay Schwartz Highland upstairs, and that's doing the same. So there's something not quite right with that. At least some of my Oncidium type. Not sure what the problem is, but something has shortened the flower spikes. I don't know. We'll find out, or we won't. Who knows? Right. So let's make a start before I go off a complete tangent. And let's start with the one which is not one to do with me, one that I bought as yet another experiment to see if I can keep it. Everybody tells me that Maxillaria are fairly easy to keep. This is Cuculata. Where are we? Hope you can see that. Not the more the coconut. It isn't the coconut orchid, but it has got a scent which I can get a whiff of. But as I've told you before, my sense of smell is extremely poor these days. So, although I know it's scented, I can't tell you any more than that. It may flower more yet because I don't know how well you can see. It looks like this is coming from the base of this old pseudobulb. In fact, it's coming up the side of a new growth. So it looks as if it puts up a new growth and a flower spike at the same time. We've got several more new growths coming. So it might flower a bit yet, but it's not one of mine. I certainly haven't had it 6 months. I haven't had it 6 weeks yet. But it's an interesting flower. Quite pretty, and it's in a slightly bizarre way. I'm keeping that upstairs on a bedroom windowsill, so it's not getting too cold or too hot. And at the moment it seems to be reasonably happy. It's not using vast amounts of water. None of them are at the moment. I'm having to take a lot more care with watering. Where shall we start? Okay, one of the Oncidium types has done tolerably well, but again, not as well as I think it probably should. But all of them seem to have gone slightly backwards over the last year or so. So we'll see how we go, whether I can pull them round. Whether I didn't water them enough 2 years ago, but it might be as far back as that, I don't know. But this is, it was bought as a, just as an unknown, but it is in fact Alisara Marfitch Renaissance Coral. It was very, very common at one point, and with good cause. I mean, it's a strange sort of coloration, but it works really well, I think. Very, very pretty flower. Not a terribly big plant. Could be doing better, but we have at least got roots going down into the pot. This was repotted in January, so it's got a little way to go before it needs doing again. So that is Alisara Marfitch Renaissance Coral. This one is Zygonis Orion Blue Angel. It's another one that's done much better previously, but I think I'd left this slightly too long, and it wasn't very happy in some old medium. This was repotted only a couple of months ago, and so these growths were already moving before that. But it does seem to have plenty of bulbs that are pretty well grown, nice and firm and plump and what have you. So I'm hoping that this one, which can be very vigorous and really bloom very, very well, will do better another time. But I like that. It's sort of striking, is that the term? Lasts quite well too. Okay, another Oncidium type. This is Oncostele Wildcat Rainbow, which we had to put into the show table as Oncidium hybrid because it wasn't bought as that. It is only a tentative identification. Again, this was one that went backwards and it needed repotting. It was also repotted in January. We got a shortish spike. It's done much, much better than that before, but this had a bit of a hammering when I repotted it. So we've got a nice plump bulb on this time. I'm hoping that when it starts to put a new growth up, we'll get something else and it'll start to recover. So it's quite a pretty little Oncidium, nothing awfully special. That's Oncostele Wildcat Rainbow. I haven't done terribly well with flowering the Masdevallias this year, so I'm going to have another look at and see what I'm doing. This one is the last one that I bought. Quite pretty. It's one of these trade names. It was identified by a guy from the original nursery, and this is from Hassinger Orchidane, and it's their trade name Bellavallia Pastel. So it's not a registered hybrid as such, but that's what it's identified as by them. And we've got two flower spikes of the one here. Very pretty, growing quite well. We've got quite a number of new growths coming. Quite a number of plants actually are starting to grow now. It's cooled off a little bit, so whether some of them need that cool spell to start to do any good, I'm not sure. I don't mean a short cold snap like you want with, say, Phalaenopsis. I'm talking about a general reduction in the overall temperature. And although they can cope with something that's more than that, they perhaps don't thrive the same. One that's nearly finished, been in flower for a long time, Phalaenopsis equestris. And just as with all the other spikes, it's putting a keiki out on the tip, and I'm told that is typical behaviour of this species. It always puts out a keiki, or almost always at least, and it certainly has done. This is, I think, the third spike that it's done that, and every spike's produced a keiki. They're nice little plants, don't take any keeping. If you see one of these on offer, grab it. If you can grow Phalaenopsis on a windowsill in the house, just put this one with it and treat them exactly the same. The nice thing about this, of course, is it's very small. from the small to the large, of course. Phalaenopsis pink twilight. This is flowering on another long spike, very typical of this plant. Growing well, recently repotted, and pretty happy. I mean, we've seen this so many times, you don't need to see this very much more, but it's certainly looking pretty good. Growing well, nice big leaves coming on, so it'll be worth seeing. Thought there was a little bit of scale there, but I don't think so. It looks like it's a very slight discoloration on the leaf instead. A mini no ID. Never had an ID for this one. One of our RHS judges thinks it might be Beatrice, but I'm not sure. I looked for the photos of Beatrice and it's not that similar, but nevertheless it's a pretty one. I'm always happy when this one comes out. Had it a really long time. It's not been that long since it was repotted. March. We've still got a lot of roots and aerial roots, so I think this might have to come back and have another look at to be absolutely certain. But yes, we're doing okay with that one. Very pretty little one. Yeah, this is very nearly over, at least on the first flush. This is what I bought as Doritis, but I am now told by the judges, as I suspected, that this has now been put into the Phalaenopsis group. So this is not Doritis, but Phalaenopsis pulcherrima, and this is the Alba form. Really must try and get the original form, which is absolutely gorgeous. But this is nice. I've got two plants in here, growing well. New leaf on that one. So I think overall these are pretty happy. Again, not all that long since they were repotted. And they're looking, the plants are looking good. It's flowered well this year, but not for much longer, I suspect. One that I could almost suspect people have been tired of seeing, this is Mini Mark, a plant that just does not know when to give over and just get on with growing. It is putting a new leaf up, just there by my finger end, just see that coming through. We've got a lot of roots coming and we've got this spike, so it's growing. I'm feeding this as a growing plant now because I want to encourage growth, and if that means the flowers don't develop as well, well, so be it. But I think I need to get this thing growing better. Some of these leaves are quite old and tired, so if it's putting new leaves and new roots out, I think that's more important than the flowers. And now we're down to the last few. One that is not quite in flower but will be long gone by the time next month comes round. This is Restrepia cuprea, almost, well, about to open. The buds are swelling nicely. This one's doing okay, but not absolutely brilliantly, could do better. So, but nevertheless, that's doing okay. There's another one here, and this is Brachypus. Oops, try and steady it. That's got quite a yellow lip, some red towards the top. Difficult to get it so you can see, but there's red around the throat and mostly yellow on the lip. Not growing fantastically well. I'm a little concerned about these Restrepias which I'm keeping in this fish tank. One of them is growing, which is Sanguinea. It's got several new growths. The others aren't doing, and I'm not sure why. This one is doing much better. This is the plant that is being grown upstairs in an old fish tank, and the big difference is that unlike that one, which we just see me putting stuff away in, that doesn't have an artificial light. This one does. The tank was bought as a tank for little freshwater shrimp. It has a lamp, an LED lamp that goes over the top, and it seems to provide a 12-hour day with this, seems to provide exactly what this plant wants. And it's growing really well. It keeps growing keikis out of the leaf nodes. That's a bit of a pain, but I have pulled some off and stuck them in the pot. But it is growing from the bottom, from up there, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's probably 7 or 8. There's 2 in flower and 6 or 7 still to come. Now this one, this is Falkenbergii. It's quite similar, yes, quite similar in a lot of ways to Brachypus, but it's not quite the same. I think the antennae are a different colour and the lip is a slightly different colour. So very similar, but not the same. And so this is going to be an absolute picture. The problem is that it's not as good as it could be. We've got a grower in our society, and Mike has only had a Restrepia a very short time, but because he's got it in the greenhouse and he can play with the conditions much better than I can, he's actually got a setup where it's really doing well. It just looks an absolute picture. And the interesting thing is, it does not grow these extensions. All it grows is ones from the base. So whether it's a different plant, that's doing that, I don't know. But I do know that that's the best by a long way of my Restrepias, and the only real difference is that this is lit for 12 hours a day and the other isn't. So I don't know, but I suspect that probably got a lot to do with it. So we've got one there that's finished, and we've got, as I say, 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 that are coming on, 5 that I can see. So yeah, this one is doing really nicely. Okay, the Gamesa radicans has gone over. There might be another spike coming up, I don't know. I've got spikes on things like this Onchostela catatanti. There's the Cattleya Xingming Beauty. That's the buds definitely forming in that, and the sheath is split. I don't know how long that'll still take to develop, but that's well on its way. I've got a spike on my white twinkle, which is good, because it doesn't sound good, but it is, because that's one I nearly lost and I'm pulling around. And there's some spikes starting to show on things like Berryoda and some of those plants. So hopefully the end of November, God, soon be Christmas, we'll have a different set of plants, some the same no doubt. Some of the Phalaenopsis will still be going, but all I can say is thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.